Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and a man with far too much free time on his hands. This is not a test. This is a random review.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel, and welcome back to the review stage, where I have yet another review for you because, honestly, I've had this on the back burner just in case I needed an evening to myself, and it's been a busy evening, or at least I assume it has been if you are watching this. We're going to take a look at the new Rathalos Prime, a toy I was very, very excited for upon announcement because I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan. I'm a Monster Hunter fan that's suffering right now because I don't have a PS5. I have to wait for the PC version to be fixed before I get to play Monster Hunter Wilds, and it's frustrating me. But that's beside the point. We're here to talk about the plastic right now, and yeah, that includes this beauty. So, first off, just to kind of clarify this, there is a previous version of a transforming Rathalos. It was a Bandai piece. It was not done by Hasbro or Takara. This is the first time they've tried to do it in a more realistic style. The first one was much more machine and mechanical, even in the dragon mode. So we are going to be looking at the first ever attempt to make a normal looking Rathalos into a transformer, and that's kind of exciting to me. So, what you're getting in this package is essentially a deluxe-sized toy with very large components attached to it. You know, the wingspan and the wings here, especially the tail, are thicker and bigger than they are on previous versions of this mold, like Pterosaur or Airazor, meaning you are getting a more solid experience, and that's just me trying to explain why you're paying so much money for this. Crossovers are just expensive. I don't know what to tell you. He's cast in a deep red shade of plastic, which I'm not sure my phone is correctly picking up, but I will try to color correct so you can see it properly. It is a really nice, accurate shade of the Rathalos red. Looking across, he's got the lightning-shaped stripes going through the wings, and the airbrushing around the edges where the membrane has gotten thin on the wings. It's a really, really cool look. You see the gunmetal color, this dark gray going down the back all the way to the tail, all the way up to the head. You can see it in the spines of the wings here as well. Yes, and if we take a look at the head, it's a pretty faithful job to the standard Rathalos. They've actually done a pretty good job of capturing it. Now, minute details are not covered, so like the eyes are solid blue here, his teeth are not individually painted or anything. But at the very least, like, the sculpting is done pretty well. Scales are included and everything. He does strike a pretty menacing look. Like, it is a very appropriately Rathalos design. Maybe like a little bit small in the head. Maybe the details could have been like a little bit bigger, but it depends on like how you're depicting the Rathalos. It varies a little bit from the artwork I have double-checked before this review. Still, proportionally, I don't know, I think I could have used a bigger head myself. That's just my opinion, though. Still looks pretty good. I still don't mind it too much. If I go ahead and point out a few of the smaller details, like we can see the claws on the wings that all look really sharp and really good. You see the individual scaling that's going on throughout the arm and then, you know, down into the wings. Yeah, it's a pretty detailed toy. Like, they did not spare any effort on this thing. I guess when they did the Kingdom toys, they kind of learned how to achieve this level of sculpt on a Transformer, so that shouldn't come as a surprise that they've gotten all the scales and everything correct. We see the tail and stinger here in the back. Spines, again, done up in that dark gray. The point for his poison is there. Yeah, just looking very, very solid all the way around. This is a really, really well sculpted figure. So it does strike very well as the Rathalos like this. I will admit, once we start getting down here, it does start getting a little bit rough. So the natural look only works from the top down. Once we see the side or the front, you start seeing all those armor bits, all the robot parts folded up. Ultimately, this is still the Airazor mold, or at the very least, this is just the mold. This is just like the engineering system of Airazor. So a lot of those artifacts are still in there, you know, which includes just a very bundled up robot mode underneath the wings and body. Now, they've tried to alleviate this as much as possible. If you look on the underside, the legs are given their own coloring. There's extra panels that fold over to try and get the look of Rathalos' knees in there. You can see the extra parts in the back to try and get the... They are armor shaped because they will be going into the robot mode, but it conveys the color and makes sure that you actually get a little bit more of that red down there. And then for the feet themselves, the claws are sculpted and represented, but like the blue that will be Optimus's feet, that's a little bit hard to cover up. So function-wise on this guy, you are looking at an articulated neck that does go up and down. You also have a joint here at the head to move up and down, and then the mouth opens. So if I try to open that nice and wide and give you a shot of it, you'll find this Rathalos has a hinge for a throat. Not a natural feature of the monster, but hey, you get to see the tongue at least. The tongue is there. That's sculpted in. Beyond that, the autofocus is terrible today. I do apologize for how much the autofocus is thrown off. I have no idea why. But we have individual hinges here, second one, and a third one giving you some range of curve and posability to the wings. So you can depict him in some of his more traditional poses. If you have, if you can kind of deal with just like seeing like the steel armor that is his underbelly. There's no articulation to the tail, by the way. That's kind of stuck where it is. As far as just like Rathalos poses, he's a little bit limited because he's kind of top forward. Like, you can just kind of lay him on the ground on his feet in the stalking pose. It does get a little bit precarious if you try to lean him forward. I know kind of Rathalos is kind of like lean forward a little bit more than this, but it's still good that it can stand properly. Okay, so I think that covers just about everything in the beast mode. We need to get into the robot mode now, and you're not going to be surprised by how this works if you're a fan of the Air Razor mold. So, first we are going to take off the weapons that are being stored, which starts with the sword on the underside. The sword itself is based on a real one from the Monster Hunter games, complete with that gradient spray that's been done on the blade. It looks really, really cool. And then to complete the sword and shield combo, the tail also comes off, and that's going to form the shield. I'm going to go ahead and transform it now just so you can see how it works. So this opens up. You can see some orange that gets revealed in there. And then this handle folds down so it can be held properly as a shield. You can forearm mount it if you do not fold that peg down, but we're going to use it like the proper sword and shield combo once it's time for it to come back. So get that out of the way. We'll bring Rathalos back in. So this is going to come as no surprise to a lot of people out there. I am going to start by opening up the legs like so, which is going to unpeg them from their spot and then straighten them out all the way. Get this little chicken legs out. New transformation steps include folding this armor over to reveal more of the blue that will bring the Optimus Prime in here. We will also need to rotate the feet like so, and you'll also need to rotate the thighs right there. And that's pretty much going to do it. So these pieces, they don't rotate normally. They're just kind of pegged in there. I rotate them when I turn them into beast mode just to give the flow and the shape to the beast mode a little bit better, but it is not a necessary part. And yeah, you can also remove these and add these elsewhere if you want him to have armor elsewhere. Okay, we need to get this piece. We need to get this piece unfolded and unpegged from the back in order to rotate everything else. So go ahead and move it on that double hinge you see in the middle there. Rotate the waist 180 degrees. And from here, we can get the arms out. You can see how they're folded into the back there. Yeah, those are a very specific shape that they go into the back piece there. So go ahead and unfold them like so. Go ahead and get all of this arranged so we can just focus on straightening them out later. Flip the head up. The Rathalos head doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of going to hang back behind the robot mode head. We're going to fold the double hinge all the way down. Or at least as far down as I can get it. And then the neck of the Rathalos is going to plug into that peg on the back right there. All right, let's go ahead and straighten out those arms. Make sure these shoulder flaps stay in the upright position. And for the rest of this, raise up the arms so we can bring all of this around. You can work these double hinges a little bit to bring all of this skirt armor a little bit closer. You can fold down the wings here, which work in the beast mode as well. Probably should have shown that off. Oh well. And there we go. With that, we are going to have our Rathalos Prime in his robot mode. So yeah, if anyone has been collecting Beast Wars toys in recent years, that is going to be a very familiar transformation scheme. Obviously, there's a couple of new spins on it in order to get the Rathalos to work, but for the most part, you are dealing with essentially the same transformation scheme as Airazor and Pterosaur. So you're not going to get any fresh Transformer experience out of it, but that's not the point. The point here is to have a crazy crossover we did not think would ever be a thing. Here is Optimus Prime in full Rathalos armor, which is kind of a crazy thing to exist, and it's somewhat amazing. I feel like I kind of wish the skirt had been handled a little bit differently, or if I could have done something cool, like fold it up again to be higher on his back to use as a wing pack. Not accurate in the least, but hey, it would have been a cool trick for a toy to do. Also, I wish the Rathalos head did something in the transformation. I wish it tucked into the body or something. It feels weird that just hanging out behind Prime's head. But no. What you see is what you get. And let's go take a closer look to see what all it is you get. Yeah, that's Optimus Prime's head with a Rathalos visor over top, ready to come down during battle. It's again, this is kind of crazy. It's just a crazy concept. Super cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's really cool to see Prime like this. And I guess it works in a weird way because, it's still Optimus Prime. So, like, I'm expecting him to be primarily red no matter what. So getting all of this red armor onto him still works. And yeah, you can kind of see, like, how that shape of the armor, that silver, becomes, like, where his windows would be, where his midsection abs, the grill, would be. So it works in that, and the sculpting and the paint is still really, really well done. I do want to state, I think that the extensive paint on this toy is probably another reason why this has gone, like, as a $50 price point figure. It really just has a lot of work in order to make this actually function and look good at the same time. So, the parts that I honestly don't think look too great are the proportions in the legs, because they have to fold up into those wyvern legs, those scrawny little ones that Rathalos stands on. Yeah, they didn't get beefed up compared to Airazor. They are still very, very scrawny. It does make this one like the more thin and svelte Optimus Primes we have ever had, which is a little bit odd. Yeah, but that's just, how this is going to go. It doesn't bother me too much because it's still Prime, and it's still just a really cool take on, like, the Rathalos armor. I guess if I'm thinking about, like, a normal human from the games, that's probably not too different than normal proportion. For articulation, you do have a ball joint in the head, so full 360 degrees of movement, a tiny bit of up and down. You've got universal shoulders, which work very, very nicely. You have a bicep rotation that's 360 degrees, an elbow that goes a little bit above the 90, and an upward wrist if you need it. It's part of transformation, and it kind of makes his wrist look broken, but you have it if you need it for something. Waist is 360 degrees, though it will clash against the wings if you do try to get it too far. Remember, it's all double hinged, so you can get it out of the way if you need it. Universal hips work all the way forward and outward. Again, the wings are going to get in the way of both arms and legs, but thankfully, obviously, it all double hinges out of the way, so you can get the poses you need. You can get out of the way if you need it. We saw the thigh rotation during transformation. We also have that deep, deep knee bend, which is great to see. The ankle is ball jointed all the way around for tilt frontwards and backwards. Just be careful you don't, like, undo this connection That way, you know, you don't look like you have a broken leg or something. I think what surprises me about this toy is, like, given its small feet, it does still have the ability to balance out pretty well. It's like most poses I've gotten him into, he's managed to hold up just fine, despite that huge wing pack. I think coming around as a skirt to redistribute the weight is playing a major part in that too. So, yeah, it all works out. It all works out. Now, accessory-wise, I will show you. Let's see if I can actually get such a small detail on frame. He does come with a unique matrix of leadership. This is not the same old sculpt that we always see Optimus Prime toys come with. You can see it is open-handled, so he can actually keep it in his hands, which is a really nice touch. But it's subtle because the paint is kind of like a little bit too thick and has kind of washed out the detail a little bit. But you can see a very subtle Rathalos ruby insignia in the matrix of leadership. For those who do not play Monster Hunter, the Rathalos ruby is the hardest piece of a Rathalos to carve to make into equipment, which means it's necessary for all the strongest stuff. So suffice to say, it's annoying to get. The matrix itself is pretty small, but you can get it into both hands, thanks to the articulation in the arms. Now, the other thing about this matrix is that it does have a 5mm port on the back, and I'm not entirely sure what to do with it. This toy doesn't feature any 5mm ports to plug it into, or like no 5mm pegs. It's just the ports, meaning I don't really have a place for that matrix to go. But it's just a neat little trinket piece. You know, it's not a necessity, and it certainly doesn't complete the look of the toy. Now, to complete the look of the toy, we need to get his shield in here, which we can do right there. And then we can get the sword over here. And now the sword does have 5mm ports on the side, along with the forearms too. So that's where you can rearrange like some of this armor, since this is just 5mm ported. If you don't mind the scrawny legs, you can add this to the forearms to beef up his upper body if you want to do it that way. But yeah, posability-wise, yeah, works for these weapons. Yeah, and yeah, to complete the sword and shield combo is kind of neat. You can also close up the shield if you want to look a little bit more solid. Just about more correct, I think. But that's not it. There is one more trick to the toy. And that's also comes from the weapons that are being used for this, because this particular sword and shield can also combine. So I'm going to fold that handle back up like so. We're going to open this back up. And then I'm going to tab the shield into the top of the sword, which converts the whole thing into an extremely brutal axe weapon. This is, again, something that actually happens in the game. It's very cool that they've taken so much inspiration from an actual weapon in the game for his accessories. Yeah, it just makes it for a very complete package here, you know? So that's Rathalos Prime. I think the big sticking point here for a lot of people is going to be the price point. It's an expensive toy for a deluxe. Something that I would probably recommend mostly to just Monster Hunter, like, hardcore fans, because it is going to be a little bit pricey for just your casual collector. But that said, if you enjoy the Monster Hunter franchise, you are getting a really cool reference with the weapon. You're getting a pretty decent Rathalos at small desktop size. And you're getting a really cool take on Optimus in full armor. It's a very, very different piece. And very, very cool. As long as you're not tired of how AirRaiser works. But that said, yeah, I'm happy with this one. So, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you learned something. And as always, I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.